Short of declaring that SpaceX is the king of the space industry, and that all of its competitors are merely petty rivals, who have more to gain from learning from Musk than competing with him, Musk's position in the space sector is without a doubt one of the greatest advantages of the moment. Following its recent achievement, the business received NASA's human landing contract several months ago, to develop the spaceship that would return American astronauts to the moon. For all those 7 months, Blue Origin has struggled to seize the contract away from SpaceX, first filing a protest, and then later taking the case to court. And as Omar Little said in The Wire, "You come at the king, you best not miss." However you choose to look at it, Blue Origin tried to kill NASA's contract with the space leader to build a lunar lander, and Blue Origin missed. The Artemis program is NASA's planned reboot of the Apollo program, to return humans to the lunar surface by 2025. Once there, astronauts will spend weeks on the lunar surface, eventually construct a moon base, and practice with technology and operations necessary to land humans on Mars one day. They already have a new powerful moonshot rocket, the SLS, and a new spacecraft, the Orion space capsule, a much more advanced Apollo-like craft. But the space agency finally settled on its choice of the Human Landing System vehicle, a vessel to carry astronauts from the lunar orbit to the moon's surface and back again. In April, awarding the contract to SpaceX. The $2.89 billion contracts were awarded to SpaceX, their proposal chosen over bids by competitors Blue Origin and Dynetics. NASA explained in a source selection document that a primary factor in its decision was the cost. The space agency would have liked to have a contract with 2 companies, but could only afford one, and SpaceX was the lowest of the 3 by a wide margin. Unsurprisingly, Blue Origin and Dynetics did not take the loss to SpaceX well. What was surprising was them filing a joint protest with the Government Accountability Office, which put any SpaceX work on Starship HLLS on hold pending the outcome. The GAO ruled in favor of NASA and SpaceX in July, but Blue Origin refused to let go. They went ahead to mount a social media campaign criticizing SpaceX and NASA for choosing SpaceX for the HLS contract. This campaign went on to last the entire month of July. Then, in August, Blue Origin sued NASA, again putting Starship HLS development on hold. Backed by the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin indicated its original protest that the $5.9 billion prices were partially based on the assumption that NASA would have enough money from Congress to pay for the proposal. Even as Congress has been indicating a month before, Blue Origin submitted its proposal last December that it would not give NASA all the funding it said it needed. In NASA's response, the attorney said companies were instructed to submit their best proposals first. They pointed to 7 instances where NASA told bidders its award decision, and whether to pick 1 or 2 companies was based on how much funding it would end up getting from Congress. But Blue Origin argued that NASA should have canceled or changed the terms of the programs when Congress voted to give the agency only a quarter of what it requested. Blue Origin has also argued that it was unfair of NASA to only invite SpaceX to tweak parts of its proposal after selecting it for a potential award, one of the many claims that NASA attacked with over hundreds of pages of legal rebuttals. Overall, NASA effectively called BS on that argument, saying Blue Origin made a bet and lost it. They lost the lawsuit on November 4th, finally bringing development on the HLS back, albeit not on the schedule. After losing again, as CNBC reported this week, Blue Origin's efforts did not even end there. It turns out that, as the litigation was ongoing, Blue Origin approached NASA with an offer to match or even beat SpaceX's price on HLS. Bear in mind that their original bid was almost 2 times SpaceX's bid that won them the contract. Interestingly, the report said that the company offered to cover over $3 billion of the difference between their original bid $5.9 billion on the contracts and the $2.9 billion that SpaceX bid to win the contract in April. If we are able to assume following this information that Blue Origin submitted an honest bid in the first place, and that it really needed $5.9 billion to be able to profitably build a moon lander, then the logical conclusion is that they saw the prospect of winning HLS slipping away. Their management became desperate enough to want to accept a huge loss on the deal, if only NASA would give it that contract. But what could possibly make Blue Origin desperate enough to do that? Well, to fully, or at least to some extent, grasp this, you will need to consider Blue Origin's history as a space company. Established in 2000, the company has been trying to break into the space race for more than 2 decades now, but has little to show for its efforts. In 2015, Blue Origin succeeded in launching and landing a rocket back on Earth before SpaceX did, though it was a suborbital rocket, and SpaceX duplicated the feat with an orbital-class rocket just a few weeks later. In the years since, the company's new Shepard rocket has flown some 20 missions, including 2 with human passengers on board, one of which had Star Trek star William Shatner on board. Also, Blue Origin just announced its 3rd human spaceflight mission, which will be the first one to have a maxed-out manifest of 6 passengers, including astronaut Alan Shepard's daughter and Good Morning America host Michael Strahan. And so, as a space tourism operator, it is hard to find any fault with Blue Origin, as it is beating its arch-rival in space tourism, Virgin Galactic, quite soundly. However, at the moment, space tourism is the only thing going right for Blue Origin. In the past couple of years alone, they have lost out on a Space Force Phase 2 procurement, national security launch contract with the US Space Force. $5.5 billion in revenue will now go to Boeing and Lockheed Martin and SpaceX, a United Launch Alliance, but not to Blue Origin. The HLS contract it lost out on would have been an added $5.9 billion or $2.9 billion in its coffers, depending on how you look at it, had it won. This, therefore, means that at this point, the only thing left providing revenues for Blue Origin is the space tourism business. Initially, the company charged $28 million for its space tourism ticket, and if it continues to charge this, it would be more than enough to console the company on its other failures. But because it is a private company, the actual amount it currently charges, we do not know. If it can find enough customers willing to foot a $28 million bill, each New Shepard launch could be generating as much as $168 million in revenue for the company. If they have one launch per month, 112 months per year, the company would be generating in excess of $2 billion for space tourism. Is not such a business a good one to own? That being said, the longer Blue Origin's success or failure as a company hangs on the success or failure of its space tourism business, the riskier the company's chances of survival seem. This is why Blue Origin was so desperate to win the HLS contract, to gain a second revenue stream for its business, and this is why its failure to win is such a big deal. U.S. Federal Judge Richard Hurtling, in the court's opinion, explained why Blue Origin lost the lawsuit. They wrote that Blue Origin's effort to conduct public relations negotiations after the award in the context of its bid protest is insufficient to support a finding of prejudice. These post-award offers to contribute funds were not before NASA at the time made its award, and NASA has no obligation to ask Blue Origin to improve its original proposal by absorbing costs or lowering the price. The U.S. Court of Federal Claims said Blue Origin's lawsuit did not have standing because it did not have a substantial chance of award, and even if it did have standing, the company would lose on the merits of the case. NASA officials have not talked much about the company's legal quarrels, beyond the occasional acknowledgments that the company's protesting was holding up the agency's efforts to land humans on the moon by 2024, as was originally planned. This announcement was made on November 9th, when NASA Administrator Bill Nelson said that the Artemis 3 mission, initially scheduled for October 2024, will launch no sooner than 2025, blaming this in part by the nearly 7 months lost on litigation over the SpaceX contract. So, tell us in the comments section below if you believe it was fair that they lost the contract, and if you think they will achieve their 2025 target.